Did you ever consider that the actions you take within the first hour of waking could potentially influence whether you live a long and healthy life, possibly reaching 90 years of age or even beyond? It might sound startling, yet there's compelling evidence suggesting it's true. The unfortunate reality is that most individuals remain unaware that they might be inadvertently undermining their longevity prospects every single morning, often before they've even completed their breakfast routine. In this informative video, I am going to unveil the 7 specific morning habits commonly shared by people who consistently achieve lifespans well into their 90s and often further. And here's a particularly encouraging aspect. Habit number 4 requires merely 30 seconds of your time, but possesses the potential to add valuable years to your life. These insights represent secrets that most medical professionals may not routinely share, yet the supporting evidence behind them is increasingly difficult to deny. If you find discussions about enhancing longevity valuable, please consider liking this video or subscribing to Old Age Wisdom for more practical advice. Allow me to introduce you to Walter's story. At the age of 65, Walter observed many of his friends beginning to grapple with serious health challenges. Issues like heart problems, noticeable cognitive decline, and increasing mobility limitations. However, today, Walter is a vibrant 93 years old. He continues to live independently, still drives his own car, and even actively volunteers at the local community garden 3 times each week. What accounts for his remarkable vitality? It's not primarily genetics. Most of his own family members barely surpassed the age of 75. The crucial difference emerged when Walter discovered and diligently implemented 7 specific morning habits after attending a health seminar when he was 65. These seemingly minor adjustments completely reshaped his health trajectory. While many of his peers were experiencing decline, Walter was actively thriving. When I inquired about what made the most significant difference, he unequivocally pointed to his established morning routine. "What I consistently do within the first hour after waking up has genuinely saved my life," he confided. And today, I am privileged to share Walter's longevity secrets with you. Are you prepared to uncover the morning habits that possess the potential to completely transform your health landscape after the age of 60? Let's delve into these powerful practices right now. Habit number 1, immediate hydration upon waking. Do you have any idea what might be occurring physiologically inside your body at this very moment if you haven't consumed any water yet today? Your blood is literally becoming thicker, placing potentially dangerous strain on both your heart and your brain. The very first action taken by numerous centenarians upon waking isn't checking their smartphones or turning on the television. It's deliberately drinking water. And the timing of this hydration is absolutely critical for maximizing its benefits. Leading nephrologists, kidney specialists, and longevity researchers affiliated with Harvard Medical School have discovered that the dehydration experienced overnight can actually accelerate the aging process by as much as 31%. Dr. Jessica Rothman, director of renal health studies at Harvard, elucidates, during sleep, your body naturally becomes progressively dehydrated. This creates a physiological condition we refer to as morning blood sludging, which compels your heart to work significantly harder and can damage the delicate small blood vessels within the brain and kidneys. This cumulative damage over time dramatically accelerates the overall aging process. Consider Sylvia's compelling story. At 72, she was contending with chronic kidney issues, persistent fatigue, and troubling memory lapses. Her physicians were seriously contemplating the necessity of dialysis. However, when she initiated the simple practice of drinking 16 ounces of water immediately upon waking, before even getting out of bed, her kidney function remarkably improved by 28% within just 60 days. "My doctor couldn't believe the significant change reflected in my blood work," Sylvia shared. He inquired about what new medication I was taking, and I informed him it was simply water, first thing every morning. Here's the actionable step you need to take. Starting tomorrow morning, place a full glass of water on your nightstand before going to bed. The very moment you open your eyes, before your feet even touch the floor, make it a point to drink the entire glass. Not coffee, not tea, just plain water. Room temperature water is generally considered optimal, as excessively cold water can sometimes shock the system. Treat this habit as non-negotiable, akin to brushing your teeth. Your internal organs are desperately awaiting hydration after many hours without fluid intake during sleep. Don't make them wait any longer than absolutely necessary. Can you commit to adopting this straightforward habit that holds the potential to dramatically enhance your kidney function and overall cardiovascular health? The longest-lived individuals around the globe do not view this practice as optional. They recognize it as essential. Do you already incorporate this into your routine? If not, when will you begin? Tomorrow morning could mark the commencement of a significant positive transformation for your health. Habit number 2, exposure to natural morning light. Are you perhaps inadvertently disrupting your body's natural circadian rhythm every single morning without even realizing it? If you're not exposing yourself to natural daylight within approximately 30 minutes of waking up, you are missing out on one of the most potent longevity triggers identified by scientific researchers. Studies conducted by the National Institute on Aging demonstrate that exposure to morning sunlight within this critical 30-minute window after waking can increase the body's natural production of melatonin, the sleep hormone, later in the day by an impressive 73%. Dr. Andrew Peterson, a lead researcher specializing in circadian health and aging, explains, exposure to morning sunlight initiates a complex cascade of hormonal processes within the body. These processes determine a wide range of physiological functions, including your subsequent sleep quality, your metabolic rate, and even your cognitive function throughout the following 24 hours. Consistently missing this crucial morning light trigger is associated with a 37% higher risk of developing neurodegenerative diseases after the age of 70. Consider Benjamin's illustrative experience. At 75, he had been battling chronic insomnia for decades. He had tried virtually everything, from prescription sleep aids to expensive dietary supplements, but nothing provided lasting relief. Then, his doctor recommended a remarkably simple change. Spend just 10 minutes outdoors immediately after waking, regardless of the prevailing weather conditions. Within a mere 2 weeks of implementing this change, Benjamin reported falling asleep faster and experiencing significantly longer periods of uninterrupted sleep. However, what surprised him most were the unexpected additional benefits. My blood pressure dropped by 15 points, he noted, and that persistent afternoon energy crash I used to experience completely disappeared. All of this resulted simply from sitting on my porch with my morning coffee instead of remaining indoors. Don't delay another day in implementing this potentially life-altering habit. Tomorrow morning, make it your explicit mission to get natural sunlight exposure within 30 minutes of waking. Even on overcast days, the intensity of outdoor light is typically 50 to 100 times brighter than standard indoor lighting and provides the critical wavelengths of light that your brain requires for optimal function. If mobility presents a challenge, simply sitting beside an open window can still offer substantial benefits. During winter months or periods of inclement weather, consider utilizing a medical-grade light therapy lamp as a supplementary measure, although natural sunlight always remains the superior option whenever feasible. This practice isn't solely about achieving better sleep. It's fundamentally about resetting your entire biological clock to help slow down the aging process at a cellular level. Are you willing to bestow this invaluable gift upon your body starting tomorrow morning? What potential obstacles might prevent you from stepping outside briefly tomorrow? Your body is quite literally awaiting this vital signal to optimize its health and function. We believe understanding these simple yet powerful habits is key to aging well. If you agree, please support Old Age Wisdom by liking this video and subscribing for more insights. Habit number 3, gentle movement before consuming breakfast. What you choose to do physically before enjoying your morning coffee could significantly influence how your joints feel when you reach 80 years of age or older. A common yet detrimental mistake many people make is remaining sedentary until after they have eaten breakfast. Unknowingly, this pattern can trigger inflammatory processes within the body that actually accelerate joint deterioration over time. Rheumatologists at the renowned Mayo Clinic have discovered that incorporating gentle morning movement before eating can reduce the rate of joint deterioration by up to 65% in seniors. Dr. Lisa Monroe, Chief of Geriatric Medicine at Mayo Clinic, states, "Our research clearly shows that engaging in movement in the morning prior to consuming food activates a crucial cellular process known as autophagy. This process essentially functions as cellular cleaning and is vital for maintaining long-term joint health and longevity. We have measured dramatic differences in key inflammatory markers between seniors who incorporate movement before breakfast versus those who eat first. This insight transformed life for Harriet. At 68, she was scheduled for knee replacement surgery following years of enduring, debilitating arthritis pain. As a final measure before surgery, her physical therapist suggested she try incorporating just 7 minutes of gentle movement immediately upon waking, before consuming anything. Within a remarkable 3 months, Harriet's pain levels had diminished so significantly that her surgeon confidently canceled the planned operation. "I genuinely thought my active days were behind me," Harriet shared emotionally. "Now, I can joyfully play with my grandchildren again." And it all began with those few dedicated minutes of morning movement. Here's your actionable plan. Tomorrow morning, after drinking your essential glass of water, but before consuming any food or coffee, commit to spending 5 to 10 minutes performing gentle, joint-lubricating movements. This isn't about engaging in intense exercise. The focus is on movement that feels comfortable and beneficial. Try incorporating small, circular motions with your ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, and wrists. Stand up and gently sway your body from side to side. Attempt to touch your toes if you can comfortably do so, or simply bend forward slightly from the hips. The key principle is continuous, gentle movement that effectively awakens your joints and muscles after a period of rest. Can you sense how stiff your body often feels first thing in the morning? That stiffness is your body communicating something important. Don't ignore its message. This brief window of opportunity in the morning activates specific longevity pathways that tend to remain dormant if you stay immobile. Will you prioritize dedicating these few precious minutes tomorrow morning to actively protect your joints for the decades ahead? Envision yourself moving with ease and comfort at age 85 or 90. Those individuals who achieve this level of mobility aren't merely genetically fortunate. They are typically individuals who consistently practice this type of morning ritual. Will you choose to join them? Habit number 4, the 30-second breathing practice. This remarkably brief, 30-second breathing habit represents arguably the single most powerful longevity practice shared by nearly all individuals who live well into their 90s and beyond. Yet, astonishingly, most people completely overlook or dismiss its potential impact. What if I propose that the specific way you breathe during the morning hours effectively sets the tone for your body's stress response throughout the entire day, potentially adding or subtracting years from your overall lifespan? Researchers studying blue zones, geographical regions where populations routinely live past 100 years of age, have documented that many centenarians consciously practice specific breathing patterns. These patterns have been shown to reduce cellular stress markers by up to 48%. Dr. Michael Cohen, who extensively studies longevity practices in Sardinia, Italy, reports, "We have consistently measured significant differences in inflammatory markers and stress hormone levels between individuals who practice intentional morning breathing exercises and those who do not." This brief, yet focused practice appears to effectively activate the vagus nerve, essentially signaling to the body that it is safe to allocate resources towards longevity and repair mechanisms, rather than remaining in a state of chronic survival mode stress. In the mountain villages of Sardinia, where men frequently live well into their late 90s, Douglas, another researcher, observed a distinct morning ritual practiced among the elders. Every morning, before engaging in any other activities, they would customarily stand outside their homes and perform a series of deep, rhythmic breaths. When researchers subsequently measured key physiological markers like their heart rate variability, a measure of nervous system balance, and cortisol levels, a primary stress hormone, they discovered patterns remarkably similar to those typically found in much younger individuals. One 96-year-old shepherd succinctly explained his practice. "I breathe deeply in the morning to prepare my body for a good day ahead. If I happen to skip this ritual, I definitely feel the difference by noon. My energy levels drop, and my thinking becomes clouded." Here is the simple yet potent 30-second practice that could potentially transform your health. Immediately following your morning glass of water, and preferably while exposing yourself to natural morning light, perform the well-regarded 4-7-8 breathing technique. Inhale quietly and gently through your nose for a count of 4 seconds. Then, hold your breath comfortably for a count of 7 seconds. Finally, exhale completely through your mouth for a count of 8 seconds, making a gentle, whooshing sound as you release the breath. Repeat this entire cycle 3 to 4 times consecutively. That's the entire practice. Just 30 seconds that effectively signals your body to activate longevity pathways rather than stress response pathways. Does this sound almost too simple to be truly effective? The scientific evidence supporting its benefits is clear and growing. This brief practice exerts measurable positive effects on blood pressure regulation, inflammation levels, and stress hormone balance. Will you commit to investing these mere 30 seconds tomorrow morning? It might very well represent the highest return on investment you'll ever achieve for your long-term health. Consider your breathing right now as you watch this video. Are you breathing fully and deeply? Probably not. Most of us tend to breathe shallowly, utilizing only about 30% of our actual lung capacity. Start consciously changing that pattern tomorrow morning. Habit number 5, a protein and fiber-rich breakfast. Is the breakfast you typically consume silently undermining your chances of living healthily past the age of 90? The stark truth is that the breakfast choices most prevalent in Western societies often actively accelerate the aging process, and unfortunately, many individuals remain unaware of this connection until significant health issues arise later in life. Nutritional gerontologists, specialists who study nutrition in relation to aging, have identified specific breakfast consumption patterns among long-lived populations worldwide. These patterns have been shown to reduce key inflammatory markers within the body by up to 53%. Dr. Valerie Richardson, a lead researcher at the Longevity Nutrition Institute, explains, the very first meal of the day effectively sets metabolic patterns that subsequently influence a wide array of physiological processes, ranging from insulin sensitivity to levels of chronic microinflammation throughout the body. Our research demonstrates that a morning meal containing a minimum of 25 grams of protein and 8 grams of fiber creates a metabolic environment conducive to supporting cellular repair mechanisms, rather than promoting processes associated with cellular damage. Consider Gerald's compelling experience. At 68, he received a diagnosis of prediabetes along with concerningly elevated inflammatory markers. Despite not being overweight, his physician predicted he would likely develop full-blown type 2 diabetes within 2 years. Instead of immediately resorting to medication, Gerald collaborated with a knowledgeable nutritionist to completely transform his breakfast habits. He made a decisive switch from his customary breakfast of toast and coffee to a meticulously planned morning meal rich in both protein and fiber. Remarkably, just 6 months later, his blood markers had entirely normalized. The only significant change I made was my breakfast, Gerald emphasized with conviction. My doctor was astonished that it was possible to reverse those negative trends simply by altering one meal each day. Here is your actionable morning meal formula designed to support longevity. Aim to combine a high-quality protein source, such as eggs, Greek yogurt, or plant-based protein options like tofu or legumes if you prefer, with foods abundant in fiber like berries, chia seeds, oats, or various vegetables. Additionally, incorporate a source of healthy fats, such as avocado, nuts, seeds, or olive oil. Crucially, strive to completely avoid consuming refined carbohydrates, like white bread, sugary cereals, pastries, before 10 a.m. These types of carbohydrates tend to trigger sharp insulin spikes, a physiological response known to accelerate the aging process. Can you commit to making this beneficial change starting tomorrow morning? The beauty of this particular habit lies in the fact that it doesn't necessitate allocating additional time to your morning routine. You are already eating breakfast. You are simply making a conscious choice to switch what you eat, thereby activating longevity-promoting pathways instead of inflammation-driving ones. Is continuing with your current breakfast truly worth potentially jeopardizing your health prospects after the age of 70? Make the switch tomorrow, and you will likely begin feeling the positive difference within just a few days. What will you choose for your breakfast tomorrow? This decision might seem minor in the moment, but its cumulative effect over many years can be truly enormous. Habit number 6, incorporating morning social connection. Let's discuss a morning ritual that possesses arguably more power than any dietary supplement for potentially extending your lifespan. Cultivating meaningful human connection. Are you aware that social isolation can impact your physical body as dramatically as smoking 15 cigarettes per day? What most people fail to realize, however, is that when this connection occurs often matters nearly as much as the connection itself. A landmark 80-year longitudinal study conducted by Harvard University revealed a fascinating finding. Engaging in morning social connections demonstrated a more significant positive correlation with increased longevity than even quitting smoking or engaging in regular exercise. Dr. Robert Miller, who spearheaded the most recent phase of this extensive multigenerational research, states, "We discovered that study participants who engaged in some form of meaningful social contact before 10 a.m. exhibited a 29% lower all-cause mortality rate over the course of the study period." Morning social interaction appears to establish beneficial neurotransmitter patterns that positively influence cardiovascular and immune function throughout the remainder of the day. In Okinawa, Japan, renowned as home to some of the world's longest-lived populations, researcher Nancy observed an intriguing pattern while studying centenarians. Each morning, neighbors would customarily gather briefly before commencing their daily activities, sometimes for just 5 minutes of simple conversation. One 97-year-old Okinawan woman explained their tradition. "If I don't speak to someone in the morning, my entire day feels somehow wrong. We make a point to check on each other every morning. It's fundamentally how we've managed to live so long." When researchers measured her key inflammatory markers and compared them to those of socially isolated seniors, the differences were striking, biologically equivalent to her being decades younger. Here are 3 practical ways you can incorporate this potentially life-extending habit into your routine starting tomorrow morning. First, make a brief morning phone call to a friend or family member. Even just 3 minutes of connection counts. Second, if you live with others, consciously create a meaningful morning check-in ritual rather than simply passing each other like ships in the night. Third, if you live alone, consider establishing a regular morning meeting, perhaps with neighbors or friends, even starting just once a week. If none of these options seem feasible, remember that even a friendly exchange with a barista at a coffee shop or a store clerk can activate some of the same beneficial biological responses. The key principle is making human connection a non-negotiable component of your morning routine, just like brushing your teeth. Are you willing to prioritize this vital aspect of well-being tomorrow? Your body literally cannot thrive optimally without it, regardless of the supplements you take or the exercise regimen you follow. Who will you make a point to connect with tomorrow morning? Your body is awaiting this critical social signal to help activate its inherent longevity pathways. Habit number 7. Practicing directed gratitude. Let's focus on the one specific mental habit that individuals thriving in their 90s consistently practice nearly every single morning without fail: intentional gratitude. However, this isn't merely the vague, "be thankful" advice you've likely heard countless times before. There exists a particular, structured way to practice gratitude that has been shown to actively engage longevity pathways within both your brain and body. Neuroscientists at Yale University have discovered that engaging in specific morning gratitude practices can physically restructure the aging brain and measurably reduce cortisol, the primary stress hormone, levels by as much as 23%. Dr. Sarah Jenkins, who specializes in studying neuroplasticity in aging adults, explains, "We can actually observe tangible changes in brain activity on fMRI scans when seniors consistently practice directed gratitude, particularly in the morning." The prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for crucial functions like decision-making and emotional regulation, exhibits increased activity patterns remarkably similar to those observed in much younger brains. But the timing appears crucial. This positive effect is significantly more pronounced when the practice occurs within approximately an hour of waking. Patricia's story powerfully demonstrates this principle. At 74, she was grappling with hypertension that wasn't responding effectively to standard medication. Her cardiologist expressed concerns about her overall heart function. After learning about the emerging research on gratitude, Patricia initiated a simple morning gratitude practice, focusing specifically on appreciating her own body and health. Within just 3 months, her blood pressure readings had stabilized significantly, and her heart rate variability, a key indicator of cardiovascular health and resilience, had improved by an impressive 31%. My doctor asked me what medication I had changed, Patricia shared. When I explained it was simply altering my morning thinking pattern through gratitude, he was initially skeptical, until he saw the consistently improved readings over time. Here is the straightforward, 2-minute gratitude practice that demonstrably transformed Patricia's health. Immediately following your morning breathing exercise, gently place your hand over your heart center. Consciously name 3 specific parts or functions of your body that you are genuinely grateful for, and briefly state why. For instance, I am grateful for my eyes that allow me to see the faces of my grandchildren. I am grateful for my legs that still faithfully carry me where I need to go. I am grateful for my heart that has been beating reliably for me all these years. The key elements are specificity in your gratitude and intentionally directing that appreciation towards your own physical body, not solely towards external circumstances. This practice isn't based on magical thinking. It demonstrably creates a measurable shift in your nervous system function, which subsequently influences everything from systemic inflammation levels to immune system response. Will you commit to trying this simple yet powerful 2-minute practice tomorrow morning? It costs absolutely nothing, requires no special equipment, and possesses the genuine potential to literally add healthy years to your life. Have you taken a moment today to thank your body for all the incredible functions it performs for you? Or are you primarily focusing on what might feel wrong or be causing discomfort? Your perspective quite literally influences your physiology. Now you are equipped with the knowledge of the 7 specific morning habits that hold the potential to transform your health after 60 and dramatically increase your likelihood of joining the esteemed group of vibrant individuals thriving well into their 90s and beyond. Please remember, you don't need to achieve perfection immediately. Even consistently adopting just 3 of these beneficial habits can precipitate significant positive changes in your overall health trajectory. Recall Walter's journey. He initially started with just 2 habits and gradually incorporated the others over time. The essential key is initiating action tomorrow, not indefinitely waiting for some elusive, perfect time that may never arrive. Your morning routine literally serves to program your body, either towards fostering youthfulness and vitality or inadvertently towards accelerating the aging process. Which path will you consciously choose? These habits should not be viewed as optional luxuries. Rather, they represent essential practices for anyone who aspires not merely to reach their 90s, but to arrive there possessing energy, mental clarity, and a continued sense of purpose. Which of these 7 powerful morning habits will you commit to implementing starting tomorrow? Your future self is genuinely counting on the decision you make right now. If you found this information valuable and actionable, please hit that like button and subscribe to Old Age Wisdom for more life-changing health secrets that most individuals over 60 unfortunately never discover. Which of these 7 morning habits are you perhaps already practicing? Please let me know in the comments below. Share this video with someone you care deeply about. It might just be the invaluable gift that adds precious, healthy years to their life.